Lab tests show that one forgotten protein crop packs up to 45% protein in the seed. That's way more than most beans or even many cuts of meat. And it's not the only one. In this video, we're not looking at one super bean. We're breaking down 6 of the best native protein crops that quietly beat your regular beans on protein, minerals, and survival power. And the last one was so strong it helped people survive famines, but also left some of them permanently paralyzed. So which of these lost crops deserves a spot in your kitchen and maybe even your garden? And which one should you never rely on as your only food source?
We have a simple solution.
And to get the maximum yield from his limited acres, the British farmer, through the centuries,
not only Massachusetts, but other states. Connecticut reporting a major drought disaster area. New Jersey counting many millions.
Before we move on, I'll be honest with you. Videos like this don't get protected by institutions. They survive because people choose them. If you want more real research, real numbers, and food stories that actually mattered to human survival, hit subscribe. It tells the algorithm this knowledge is worth keeping. Kidney beans, Phaseolus vulgaris. Per 100 grams of dry kidney beans, you get about 23.6 grams protein, 60 grams carbs, 24.9 grams fiber, 333 calories, and around 1 gram fat. That is the reference point, so every stronger than beans claim must beat it clearly on real-life use too. Those bean numbers look simple, yet they hide a trade-off. Beans bring huge fiber and steady protein, but almost no oil. If another crop matches protein and adds healthy fats or minerals, it can feel more satisfying per spoonful. Sounds fair? Good, let us test. One rule keeps this honest. Compare dry weights because water changes everything. Cooked beans weigh more and show lower protein per 100 grams, even when the same beans sit in the pot. Dry numbers let you compare seed to seed without tricks or tiny print. Now, what counts as stronger? You either push protein above 23.6 or you stay close and crush beans on something else, like iron and zinc, better oils, or climate toughness that keeps harvests coming. That is the real argument, and you will hear why soon. Also watch for processing costs. Some seeds need soaking, washing, fermenting, or long boiling to remove bitter compounds or block anti-nutrients. A crop can look perfect on paper, yet demand extra water, fuel, or time. Would you still grow it? That question matters later too. Markets matter as well. Plenty of strong crops stay local because seed supply, taste habits, and selling channels lag behind the science. When you hear forgotten crop, ask who benefits from standardized commodities and who loses variety. Ready for examples? We start high in the mountains, so keep 2 comparisons running in your head. Nutrition per 100 grams dry and survival per hectare when conditions turn ugly. Some plants win on both, which is rare. The first one comes from the Andes and acts like soy, but with its own twist. You will hear a seed that hits extreme protein, then you will hear about the prep work that makes it edible. That blend of power and hassle makes the story feel human. Keep that protein benchmark in mind and meet Tarwi, the Andean lupin powerhouse, now. Tarwi, Lupinus mutabilis. Large reviews of Lupinus mutabilis put Tarwi protein at 41 to 53 grams per 100 grams dry seed. That alone changes expectations for a legume. Ever seen a bean claim half its weight is protein? Tarwi does sometimes, and that range comes from real landraces grown today. One composition table lists 51% protein, 13% fiber, and 21.9% fat in the same dry seed. It also lists calcium near 0.37%, or about 370 milligrams per 100 grams, plus iron about 6.1 milligrams. Zinc shows up too, around 9.2 milligrams per 100 grams dry. Tarwi fat stays mostly unsaturated. Reports give about 62% oleic, 22 to 28% linoleic, and roughly 1 to 1.5% alpha-linolenic acid. That mix sounds closer to cooking oils than to typical beans. Would you expect a legume to carry oils like that? It even scores a 5.3 fat ratio. Protein quality also holds up. Older lab work on concentrates puts Tarwi protein between 47 and 65% of the seed, and researchers compare the amino acid quality to soy. The limiting amino acids are the sulfur amino acids, not lysine, so blends can balance it easily. Here is the catch. Raw Tarwi holds quinolizidine alkaloids that taste bitter. People remove them because they dissolve in water, so traditional prep uses long soaking and repeated washing before cooking. That slow step keeps the seed on the table safely and flavor turns mild. Tarwi's home range explains the toughness. It grows across Andean valleys from roughly 800 to 3,000 meters, and once established, it withstands exceptional drought. Domestication in Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia goes back about 1,500 years. That is long-term testing done by farmers, not lab coats. As a legume, it can fix about 60 to 140 kilograms nitrogen per hectare for the next crop. So Tarwi feeds you, then leaves fertility behind like a gift. Does your protein crop also fertilize your soil? That question matters when inputs cost money for growers everywhere. In Inca times, estimates say Tarwi supplied about 5% of the Inca diet. That is huge in a food system already full of potatoes, quinoa, and maize. So Tarwi is not a novelty, it is a proven staple. Keep that idea as we shift to Amaranth minerals. Amaranth, Amaranthus spp. Per 100 grams of dry amaranth grain, you get 7.6 milligrams iron, 248 milligrams magnesium, and 3.3 milligrams manganese. Those are big numbers for a tiny seed. So even before protein, amaranth earns attention. Why do people call it a weed? Watch how it works. On macros, amaranth looks normal. About 371 calories, 65 grams carbs, 6.7 grams fiber, and around 7 grams fat per 100 grams dry. Protein sits near 14 grams, yet lysine-rich protein makes that 14 matter more because many grains leave lysine low on purpose. If you eat mostly grains, that lysine gap can limit how your body uses the protein you do get. Amaranth helps patch that. Does it replace beans? Maybe not. It plays best as a partner food in the same bowl with legumes, nuts, or dairy. Now the mineral list gets loud. Per 100 grams dry, amaranth gives about 557 milligrams phosphorus, 159 milligrams calcium, and 508 milligrams potassium, plus 248 milligrams magnesium. That magnesium number matters for muscles and nerves, and it often runs low in modern diets for many. Vitamins also show up in usable amounts: 0.59 milligrams, B6, folate about 82 micrograms, and pantothenic acid about 1.5 milligrams per 100 grams. Want a seed that supports both energy metabolism and minerals? That is the pitch, straight, and the numbers back it up. The farming side explains why it keeps popping up in drought talk. Amaranth is classed as a drought-tolerant C4 crop, so it handles heat and low water better than many cereals. Studies note it can grow on poor soils where maize and wheat struggle. That matters because nutrition means nothing if you cannot harvest it. Still, amaranth has critics who call it niche, hard to market, or unfamiliar to cook. So think like a grower. Would you rather chase yield or chase resilience plus minerals? As climate's shifting fast. Keep that resilience thought, because the next crop is a legume. Farmers choose when rain forecasts look bleak. It grows in semi-arid regions and still harvests on poor soils. When conditions get rough, survival yield matters more than taste. Meet Bambra groundnut up close. Bambra, Vigna subterranea. Dry Bambra groundnut often tests around 19 to 32% protein depending on variety and where it grows. That spread matters because some samples climb above 30% and start competing with the big-name legumes. So why do farmers keep it in the field year after year in practice? Macros look familiar: fat around 7 to 8%, carbs roughly 44 to 64%, and fiber near 4.6% in typical dry seeds. So it feeds like a bean, yet its reputation comes from tough seasons. Think of it as a bad weather insurance policy you can eat when fall apart. Minerals can look wild in some reports. One Nigerian study lists 139 milligrams zinc per 100 grams, plus copper around 30 milligrams and potassium around 31.5 milligrams. It also reports phosphorus 17.4 milligrams, magnesium 3.9 milligrams, and calcium 3.5 milligrams. Why mismatch? Soil and methods. Processing decides how much of those minerals you absorb. Researchers point to anti-nutritional factors like phytic acid, tannins, and trypsin inhibitors in raw seeds. Fermentation and roasting reduce those blockers and improve mineral availability. So the food security angle includes kitchen skills, not just farming. Bambra groundnut is indigenous to Africa, and farmers grow it in semi-arid zones with low inputs. Trials report it can outperform peanut in poor soils and low rainfall years. That is why low-input seeds matter when money, water, and time run short for families. Some researchers see Bambra as a useful ingredient for plant protein blends because its amino acids include lots of glutamic acid and a solid essential spread. Others even test it for cosmetics. That sounds good for income, but new markets can push prices up for eaters. Bambra wins with protein, drought tolerance, and simple processing that improves mineral use. The criticism is funding. Breeding and seed supply lag behind soy and peanut programs, so yields improve slowly. When big buyers stay away, research budgets shrink. Would you still invest in it? Hold on to the investor problem, because the next legume proves it fast. It offers solid nutrition, yet farmers drop it because harvest volumes stay low. That yield ceiling shapes who grows it and who forgets it. Meet Kerings groundnut from West Africa, almost unseen. Kerings groundnut, Macrotoloma geocarpum. Per 100 grams of dry Kerings groundnut, you get 15 milligrams iron and about 19.4 grams protein, with 348 calories. For a seed many people have never seen, that is, a serious nutrition profile. So why does it keep disappearing from fields and farming systems? Per 100 grams dry, it has 1.1 grams fat, 66.6 grams carbs, and 5.5 grams fiber. So it reads like a starchy legume, yet minerals lift it. 103 milligrams calcium and 392 milligrams phosphorus. Do you see why cooks value it for more than calories? B vitamins add another layer. Tables list thiamine at 0.76 milligrams per 100 grams, riboflavin at 0.19, and niacin at 2.3. That is a practical mix for a staple food. If a crop supports energy metabolism, why do markets ignore it even in the home region? Amino acid data list lysine around 1,280 milligrams per 100 grams, leucine around 1,485 milligrams, and valine around 1,209 milligrams. Those numbers help when you plan plant proteins. The seed also carries tannins and phytate, plus hemagglutinins. So what prep fixes that? Before boiling hard, a 12-hour soak plus 30 minutes boiling can reduce tannins by 98%, remove hemagglutinating activity by 100%, and cut phytate by about 70%. Great results, but you pay with water and fuel. In drought-prone areas, that cost shapes how often people cook it at home. Records put Kerings yield near 500 kilograms per hectare of dry seed. For systems chasing income, low harvest pushes farmers toward crops. Yet it tolerates drought and hates flooded soils, so it fits savannas. Farmers in Benin, Togo, and Nigeria grow it where soils match. Kirsting's struggle is scale, not nutrition. Low yields keep seed supply thin, and thin supply keeps breeding work limited. That loop pushes the crop out of markets. When you hear of orphan crops, think of incentives. We shift to grass pea, a survivor with a toxin problem. The next crop wins on drought survival and protein, yet it carries a built-in hazard. Grass pea contains ODAP neurotoxin, and heavy reliance has caused neurolatherism in real outbreaks. If a seed can feed you and harm you, how do you judge it in practice? Grass pea, Lathyrus sativus. One table puts grass pea at 31.6% protein in dry seed with 51.8% carbs and 2.7% fat. For a drought-hardy legume, that looks like a dream. So why does it carry one of the strongest warnings in crop history? Start with the chemistry inside it. The same table lists fiber around 1.1% and ash around 2.2%. Protein quality also looks strong. Lysine runs about 6.7% of the protein, leucine about 6.6%, and arginine about 7.7%. So on paper, amino acid spread looks solid. People plant it because it survives droughts. Now the risk. Grass pea contains a neurotoxin called ODAP, short for beta-N-oxalyl, L-alpha-beta diaminopropionic acid. Average content sits around 0.5% seed weight. That sounds tiny, yet it adds up when the seed becomes a main staple. How? Dose and time over months of heavy eating. Neurolatherism is the link disease, and it damages motor neurons. People can lose leg function, sometimes permanently, and reports describe gluteal muscle atrophy. This often appears when communities rely on grass pea for months during famine. So a famine staple can carry a hidden cost. Outbreaks are recorded in Europe, including France, Spain, and Germany, plus North Africa and South Asia. Reports also describe cases in Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Afghanistan when crop failures force heavy dependence. The pattern is simple. Risk rises when choice disappears. That is food shortage math. Drought stress can raise ODAP levels in grass pea, so the same weather that makes it survive can make it riskier. That timing bites during famine because people eat more of it then. Can you see the loop? The crop saves calories, then punishes dependence. The evidence points to one trigger. Grass pea becomes dangerous when it is the main staple for long periods. So the safety tool is variety. Farmers treat it as insurance. Diets mix foods when possible. Relief that brings choice lowers risk. Think of last resort always. Grass pea leaves one rule: resilience can carry risk. When you hear miracle drought seed, ask one hard question: what happens if people rely on it every day for months? That single check turns nutrition talk into real-world safety and protects families in the hardest years. You came for a food ranking, but you are about to see real numbers reshape what staple means and how choices ripple through farms, kitchens, and bodies. Stay with me.